The cannibal Isle Arius flew over the isle and saw a bungalow, with a trail behind it that led to a spring where a woman painted. A rifle was leaned against her chair and she spoke to herself. Arius perched on a nearby tree to observe her before he introduced himself in human form. The woman ceased talking and she held the rifle. She stared around until she saw the 10 grey birds in the tree that were Arius in his animal form. The woman resumed her monologue since she did not recognize the danger. She looked to the ground and said, "The ant queen needs laborers, the bee queen needs laborers, and the businessmen need a cheap supply of labor to work for us, to consume our goods, to pay us levies and to praise us for giving them all these things. Meanwhile, we, the businessmen, must manage the society to ensure that the system runs continuously and increase our influence by gaining more properties. The police force and the private security forces that we own must protect our properties from the labor force and regulate the labor force from harming themselves." Arius peered in the direction that the woman was focused on and he saw a column of leaf ants held her attention. She further continued, "Grandfather said that we should not feel bad for the labor force because they don't want to sacrifice and earn what we have, they just want to take it from us. This is why we must deal harshly with them," said the woman, and she went back to painting. Arius left and went to the front of the house where he reverted to his human form when the 10 birds clustered together. He used a window as a mirror to ensure that his shoulders were straight, that the barrel chest formed correctly and that his mason arms were proportioned properly. He sniffed his odor and the scent was pleasant like he expected. He wore his traveling salesman black and white uniform and he carried a leather case with 2 items in it. There was a gong at the door and he struck it 3 times. Moments later, the woman came from the side of the house with her rifle aimed at him. "Hello. Your brother-in-law sent me. I am Arius. How did you get here? I do not see a boat on the shore. I flew. Those strange birds on the tree a few minutes ago, were they you?" "Yes. My grandfather killed off your kind, the children of the falling star." "I beg you a pardon, what did you just say?" "My grandfather was behind the bombing of your temple to prevent Emperor Malik from using your kind against the insurrectionists." "Were you there?" "I was there when the temple was destroyed," replied Arius. "How did you survive and why are you a laborer for my brother-in-law?" "I escaped and was adopted by a traveling saleswoman." "I am not a laborer for your brother-in-law." "Are you here on his behalf?" "Yes." "Then you are his laborer." "I am here because he wants you to write a book for him that should be written in 6 months. In return he will give you the only copy of Santicus the Solemn One as payment for your services. In a show of good faith, he has sent a page from the Solemn One." "Let me see it." Arius gave her the page from the case and she read it in a language that he had never heard of. She introduced herself as Scotia and then proceeded to question him further. "Do you know who Santicus was?" "He taught Malik and inspired him to unify Lemuria," replied Arius. "And when the leader of the insurrection confronted Malik, he read from the Solemn One to show how far Malik had strayed from Santicus' teachings," said the woman. "Can we discuss the book inside the house?" asked Arius, to which her simple and unremorseful reply was, "Are you not angry for what my grandfather did?" "I cannot be angry at someone as beautiful as you, besides the bombing was a century ago, it is water under the bridge." "Come inside then." On the interior walls of the house were charts on the anatomies of humans, werewolves, vampires, and giants. A painting of the Great Chain of Being was on the kitchen door and one with the spiritual energy points in the human spine was on the bedroom door. A map of the continent of Lemuria was above the bookshelf that was filled with scrolls and texts. Arius took a tied bundle of paper from his case and placed it on the table. "These are the notes for the book. They are the observations, sayings, and records on the holy man of Mur. You have to put them into a narrative," said Arius. "Is my brother-in-law still the mayor of Mur?" Yes. Did he say why he needed the book? To generate revenue for the city, and also that your family can be cared for. Money was what everything came down to in this world. Indeed, said Arius. And what did my brother-in-law barter for your services? I don't follow. You are the renowned author of the book Percentage Management, a guide to maintaining wealth, yet you exiled yourself to this place when you discovered the atrocities that were done by your family. The ancient records that you have might show the location of my original home, the Fallen Star. I would like to look at those records, said Arius. He had no right to tell you about the reason that I am here, said Scotia. My apologies for being too forward, said Arius. Scotia skimmed through the notes that were on the table and she said, tell my brother-in-law that I accept his deal. Thank you, but what about me going through your records to find my home? Asked Arius. Scotia ran her eyes over him and she replied, I will have an answer to that question when you return from Mur. Thanks for meeting with me and do enjoy the rest of your day, said Arius as he bid her farewell. He exited the house, transformed into the birds, and he went to Mur to speak with its mayor Burritos, a secret child of the Fallen Star. Arius arrived at the window of Burritos' study in the night. Burritos was at a blackboard where he wrote figures on cost, sales, and results for the next 6 months. Arius' birds tapped on the window and after Burritos let them inside, they formed into the human Arius. Scotia agreed to write the book but will decide to help me or not when I return to her, said Arius. Why did you not tell me that the grandfather tried to murder us? Because it was a strategic move by him to get more money from the sacked treasury for his mercenaries and himself, since they removed a high-level target from the battlefield. I would have done the same. He did not even know what I was when he and his son gave me their blessings to marry my wife. I have his money and my bloodline has replaced his. That is vengeance enough for me, replied Burritos. Did you mention my non-human aspect to Scotia? No, replied Arius. Did she display her mental illness? Arius reflected on when Scotia spoke to herself. No, I did not see the insanity that you warned me about, lied Arius. The third sister is barren, so it is just my son and daughter who will inherit the wealth. If anything should happen to them before they reach of age, then that will be the end of the bloodline. Prior to the death of my father-in-law, he made me mayor for life because he knew I had the vision, the tenacity, and the leadership to increase the wealth of the family, which I have, but now I have a succession dilemma which is an entirely different story, said Burritos. I see, said Arius. The holy man was killed with a poison a few hours ago, like I predicted that those other mayors would do. I told the city that a holiday will commemorate his passing and that a grand temple will be built to house his tomb so that all of Lemuria can still come visit the holy man of Mur, said Burritos. He handed Arius a drawing of the new Mur city with the commercial center adjacent to the grand temple. The tourists and pilgrims can stay at guest houses, eat at clean restaurants and get their holy merchandise from the shops, said Burritos. The book on the holy man's life will be pivotal to drive daily revenues all through the year with retail sales both here and in the rest of the continent. I can't thank you enough, Arius.